Regarding recording, we kind of skip that. How do you record the videos? What do you use?
Okay. That's great. So I have a couple of cameras that I use. I have like an A-roll camera and a B-roll camera, and they alternate positions, but they're both Lumix cameras. Um, mine's like, no, right here. Okay, so here's one of them. So it is a Lumix. This is a Lumix G7, and I think the other one's a GH5. And this is currently in B-roll mode because it's got the zoom lens on it, which I can use to get nice and close to whatever thing I'm filming. And then back what's currently in use here would be the GH5, which for this video for live streaming, it's outputting to OBS. And then OBS would gather it. And from there, if I wanted to, I could just import that into Kdenlive and work with that. A lot of the time, I end up using the actual camera video. I actually record it off of the camera and then like on an SD card. And then I go grab that mainly because sometimes it's easier to color grade that if there's like a color issue or something that I want to correct. OBS can squash the footage, and this camera can actually record and log. So I can actually set up for a little bit finer of an experience. And depending on the time of day or how I'm feeling, or if I'm doing like something experimental, I might give that a try and then color grade it in Kdenlive, which is okay. It does its job just fine.
So you're into the micro four thirds world as far as sensors go, but
For now, I've got my eyes on a Sony camera. I've been thinking about how I'm gonna up because one of the things is that I talked about how I switch cameras, my A-roll and my B-roll camera. The camera that's currently filming this is the only camera I have with synchronizable shutter speed. So this plays into if I'm recording a like an old style CRT, like a monitor from way back when, or like one of my terminals, like I have a Wise terminal sitting there, which I've used in some of my videos. It's really hard to use this camera to get that footage because this camera doesn't have a fine grained synchronizable shutter speed. Whereas this camera, I can actually zero in on the refresh rate of the monitor so that it doesn't have artifacting and pulsating features and all stuff like that. But it means that I have to tear apart my teleprompter in order to record that footage, and that gets old. So I thought about switching to a three camera setup where I have a dedicated A-roll camera that never moves, and then the camera that's currently in here would be my B-roll camera, which I'd use in those cases. And then this camera would be moved into streaming from back here. It'd be my streaming camera and then my overhead camera for when I want to show what I'm working on this bench here. So like when doing a project video, I want to be able to show what that project looks like. And like in my last video, Debian video, I used this to film um, like cardboard cutouts of Toy Story characters to show how Debian releases work. And I needed to have lots of pictures, and I was moving them around, and I was being silly with it. And this camera overhead mounted on a speed mount, it's like up in
yeah.
the ceiling and then aimed down. I'd love to be able to leave it there because I constantly
Yeah.
have to move things around in order to make it work.
What's the lens on the main one?
On so this is the this so right here on the camera that I'm currently in, it is an Olympus. Let's see, I have the box for it out. Um, it's a low F. I think it goes down to f1.8. So it's no, you know what? Actually, no, I'm wrong. I took that one off for this. I'm because I wanted to be a little bit more in the frame. and less of the, I wanted a little bit more background blur. So I switched to it's like the Micro Four Thirds version of a Nifty 50. It's a, I
25?
can't do that math in my head right now, but it's
25, it's
a,
half.
yeah, I was gonna say, I think it's a 25, and like I can never remember if it's actually half or what the number is.
Yeah, the crop
I
factor
know.
is 2, so
Okay, yeah, there we go. Yep. Yeah, and it's so I tend to buy this stuff used. I don't know if you can tell.
oh, same.
I'm very privileged to live in a city that has a lot of great used video gear, like stores and little shops and stuff like that that actually supports, like you can take it back if it doesn't work out for you, and like they're really nice. And so I end up buying a lot of the stuff. Like I'll talk to the person working there and they'll be like, "Oh yeah, this is the Micro Four Thirds version of a Nifty 50." And I know what Nifty 50 is. So that's what I end up plugging in, and then it's like, "Oh, I like that. That's pretty good." And you get it for a deal because you're buying it used.
In the ASPC word, the crop factor is 1.4, which makes math a bit more hard, or 1.5, I
Yes,
can never.
I can never remember. And now I got Sony on the brain, so I'm sitting here thinking about how they do it, which is different from how Lumix does it or Panasonic does it. So there's going to be some learning curves, but my goal here is to make it so this camera doesn't ever change. That's just fixed and is what it is. And then I can maneuver these things around as I need to, but hopefully I don't need to all that much, and that'll speed up my especially my B-roll process quite a bit.
You mentioned a teleprompter, so you do use a teleprompter. You have scripts you use.
I do.
How does that work? Do you have a monitor underneath?
Right now I don't have a monitor. Part of that is because I don't know, like I don't have an output. Yeah, I talked about that earlier, but my on my tower here, I can't output 4 video signals at once. My GPU just can't handle it. It doesn't have the output. So I need to essentially replace the GPU in order to get a monitor under there, but that would be my long-term goal. For right now, I'm using an Android tablet that has it's a Pixel tablet that I got open box from an electronics store. Somebody scratched the back of
Okay.
it or something, like it works. And so I got it dirt cheap, and I installed Graphene OS on it, so it's been completely de-Googled. And it's basically just a teleprompter, which is kind of nice. Like it has one job,
A
and that's all it
glorified
does.
teleprompter.
I can use it for what was nice about using the Android tablet is I was able to install F-Droid and get Nextcloud going on it. I do my writing in Nextcloud Notes. I use Markdown for all of my stuff. And so I was able to get Nextcloud on the tablet so I can write here on the desktop. And then when I'm ready, I can basically open it right there on the tablet, copy the file into the teleprompter app, and then hit play and go. It's pretty slick.
Okay, it is. What's your view of Nextcloud? Do you see it positively?
I like Nextcloud. I've used Nextcloud for years now. I mainly